me and Sean talked about this, is after you won that championship, and this is true, and I want you to, you party for 30 days straight?
So,
And this is real club,
yeah,
table, real partying.
So, went back to Miami. We won the championship. We was going to have a parade. So, I was like, look, I'm going to go celebrate for 30 days. We're going to hit every city.
No, first of all, where'd y'all go, and then how didn't you make it?
I mean, obviously, we started in Miami. So, started day one in Miami, New York, L.A., Houston. I mean, everywhere that was popping for parties, we went to. 24 hours or 48 hours, in and out. I remember I used to drink Patron back then, so that was my thing. We used bottles of Patron, in and out. I didn't make the 430, but I tried.
Anthony Holt, employee number 8 itself, Antoine Walker. We here, we in the shot, man.
Yeah, we're in the shop, but this is finally getting an opportunity, man, you know, to be able to share these stories, share these trials and tribulations and, you know, the ups and downs, the fun times, the good times. So I'm looking forward to it. Finally have my own platform to be able to share my life and my story.
Man, we've been at this, since 2012?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2012,
yeah.
Man.
I was in the D League. It's called the G League now. I was in the D League back then when we was trying to come up with this idea and put this thing together. So it's exciting to see everything come together finally.
So we're here in your city, in the Chi, you know, kicking this first episode off with your stories. I mean, I know we can have 10 episodes or 100 episodes on your stories, but today we're going to just kind of kick things off. I want to talk about, man, I guess the state of the NBA right now. There's some things I've been seeing that's going around social media about the difference between the 80s and the 90s basketball. Some guys, you know, clowning, talking about 90s basketball. What do you think about that era and this era right now?
Well, I mean, the difference is, let's be honest. I mean, obviously, these guys play in an era where they got much more media coverage, where they're it's kind of weird, but their face is in the light a lot more. So everything they do is magnified 10 times more than when we played. For me in the 90s, the late 90s, and then for the guys in the 80s. So it's a different type of mentality in that sense. But it depends. I think obviously on the court, the game has changed, but also socially too.
Right.
So it's hard. I think it's easier on the court, but it's harder socially off the court.
So what if they had their camera on Antoine Walker back in that day?
I probably wouldn't have played 13 years in the NBA. You know what I mean? So it's different. You know what I mean? These guys are under a microscope. They can't go out to the club. They can't party. Everything that they do is take people taking pictures of them. The paparazzi's at a higher level than when we played. We can kind of back in, especially in the 90s, you can get away with something. You can, you know, have a good night at the club. Nobody know about it. You don't have to hear about anything. You have a good night at the club now. I mean, it's on social media, probably that night, if not in the morning. So I think that's where the difference lies in that.
So what about now, too, man? You got these young players, and they saying they're getting preyed upon by some of these older women. What's your thoughts on, I guess, is it their team that needs some around them? What's your thoughts on these young players and these older women?
Listen, man, this is the problem. This is the basis. I'm going to just break it down to you. So back in the day, you had to actually go out and work. So you had to go to the bar. You had to go to the club to actually meet somebody. You got to think about it now. You can just lay in your bed. You can lay in your bed, sit on your couch with social media. You can, you know, DM a girl. You can, you know, find out which girl in this town, and you can just hit them up. So they don't have to put no work in. See, when I played, we had to put work in. You had to go out, you know, jeopardize your sleep time, jeopardize your energy for the game. And, you know, with this group, you just can sit on the phone and you get a date.
Right.
It's just different now, you know. And so it makes things a lot easier. You're much more accessible. You know what I mean? To be able to get in a little bit more trouble, but everything is through the phone. You don't got to put no work in. We used to have to go to the club. We used to have to call somebody, yo, what's popping tonight, and actually go to that spot. and actually approach a woman and buy them a drink. And these guys don't got to do that now. They like meet me at the restaurant, meet me at the club, meet me at the hotel. They got it easy now.
So what about, I guess now, you got Jalen Green, Houston, Drea.
Right. Oh,
you got, I think, Jalen Brown. So what about some of the guys with the older women? What is that a trend? I mean, is that going on? Was that happening back in your day?
Why would you want to say that to me? I mean, for me, of course, I have an older baby mom, so it definitely happened back in the day. So I'm not going to sit here and criticize without taking some criticism myself. I did end up dating an older woman that was 15, 16 years older than me when I was 21. So I understand it to a certain degree. It's one of those situations where you just got to be smarter. I mean, if it's not in a relationship that you feel like it's going to last a long time, you got to be smarter. But it happens. It's a part of life. I mean, it's some older women that look good. You 21, sometimes you want an older woman. You know what I mean? So that's a tough question to ask me to put me on that. So I got to, because I made that mistake, and I don't necessarily call it a mistake, but I dated an older woman at a younger age. So I have to, take that criticism that comes along with that.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, the other thing that's going on about the 80s and 90s, they talking about the style of play on the court and could guys play in this era and, dominate in this era. What are your thoughts on, could you have played in this era and what you think you would do in this era?
Well, I definitely could play in this era because I could shoot the three. I was a skilled big man that can do a lot of different things on the court besides just score the basketball. So I probably could. But some of the other guys, they would be more handicapped, more the guys that would, the physicality of a power forward and the centers that were just guys that you thought to just rebound and block shots. Those guys, yeah, they would probably struggle a little bit because our centers that's in the league now today are arguably top 7, top 8 players in the league. When you think about Jokic and Embiid, those two guys are versatile. Those guys can fill up a stat sheet. So it's totally different now because you do have those guys. But I think the versatility of a guy 6'7" to, we take it all the way to 1B to 7'5" is just totally different. That's where the game has evolved and changed, that where big guys can do what guards do.
Right.
And you seeing it more on a regular basis. I think it makes the game better. I'm obviously a little biased because I'm a bigger guy that used to do guard things, but I think it makes the game better. It's just a matter of how people look at it. It's not the traditional basketball that we're used to seeing. You're seeing 40, 53 shot a game. I remember when I played, and by me being 6'8", 6'9", I shoot threes. I used to get booed. And now guys are, you can't take enough threes.
Right.
So it just shows you where the game is at and how things have changed.
Right. But I think also the era, I know you're talking about the big guys, I think of a small guard that could play in this era that played back then. I think Isaiah Thomas. I think his game translates to this. I think he would have been, the same, if not better, in this era than he was back then.
Oh, without question. Isaiah is one of the ones. I mean, obviously, big up Chicago, West Side. So I'm a little biased in that sense. But just Isaiah game translates that. Everybody game doesn't.
Right.
Translate to the game today, and even vice versa. So everybody game doesn't. But he is one of the guys that games translate. But also, too, I mean, I don't want to keep it Chicago-based because I'm from Chicago, but I think you look at Tim Hardaway.
Yeah.
You add him to the equation. His game, he'll be phenomenal in the open court. Think about his crossover at this day and age. I mean, even though he was great when he played, but he'll probably average 15 assists a game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He'll be one of those guys that'll be a 2012 type of guy in the league. So I just think the game has evolved into that. It's not the typical, those are typical point guards that we don't see. I mean, look at the best point guards in the game today, and over our last 10 years, probably Chris Paul is probably the only traditional guard, but you think about Derrick Rose, Westbrook, Steph Curry, those guys are point guards we may not never see again. They're just different.
Right.
Where they can score, pass, and rebound. I mean, that's unheard of from the traditional guards, from the Stocktons, the Isaiah Thomas. So that's where the game has evolved.
I would put Marbury in that category too. I think Marbury would have.
Steph was in there. Yeah, Steph can play in the era.
Yeah.
Steph would definitely be an all-star in the 90s, obviously, and obviously in this era right now he'll be killing.
Right. So we just came from NAP, All-Star. It was good to be out there. Tell me some of your stories from being an All-Star. What was it like?
Wow. On the court, off the court.
Let me hear off the court. Let me hear off the court.
Well, off the court, it was always, for me, it was always a time to like, I felt like now I was finna, I didn't play in the era with social media. Let me get back to that.
Right.
So this was a time where I wanted to get out, meet women from different cities. I was gonna be able to. So I remember me and my boys, we used to put our number down on paper. So I would put my name down, my number down, because I was trying to, I was on the number game. I was trying to say, I think these parties are gonna be popping, so I need to be able to get me 4 or 5 numbers, or at least get my number out 4 or 5 times, per night. And then, you'll see. I got my type. I know what I like. So I know come Monday, Tuesday, who calling me, I know they at least decent.
So you ain't wasting a number.
Everything gonna be something that I may like. I'm gonna find something, whether she got nice feet, I like the way she dressed, her hair. It's gonna be something. So I'm gonna feel comfortable when she called me on that Monday, Tuesday, once all start over with. So yeah, it was a strategy to All Star. Even if I didn't make it planned, I was going to All Star.
So you was on the hunt.
Oh yeah, that was the big weekend. Mm-hmm. That was the money weekend. That was when you get your crop up, get your stable together, get your team in line. I don't know. You probably never had a team. See, I used to have a team. I used to try to have a roster. Not that I ain't want a 12, 15, woman roster, but I like to try to have a little roster.
Was it a variety, different flavor?
Yeah, like hits and dusties, little variety.
Okay.
Black, white, Puerto Rican. I don't discriminate. You know what I mean? So I don't know your game. See, everybody's different. See, everybody like to be like, oh, I only talk to black girls. I only talk to this. You got to have a little versatility to yourself.
Okay. I had a little flow in my day. Now I'm chill, but I had a little versatility back in the day. And I seen you back in those days too. With the 50-man crew.
As you get a little older to talk about your old days. Loosen up a little bit. It's okay. This is. You got a story to tell.
I had my run.
There you go. Now,
I had a good run.
Now I like to hear that. There you go. Don't be scared.
I could go toe to toe in some of those instances, but I saw a big fella out there with the crew.
Yeah.
I saw you out there with the crew.
That's part of my DNA.
Yeah, I saw it. Now tell me about the on court. Now I remember, and now I see probably why your 3-point contest. That year, you was in a 3-point contest. You went out there, and boy, you stunk up that performance. I'm gonna tell you right now. What happened? Give me the play before you went out there for the 3-point contest.
Yeah, I did stink it up. But I have a valid excuse on what happened. So, obviously, that particular year, just take a little backstory. So that particular year, I ended up was shooting threes really well. So Jim O'Brien, who came in being the coach, had turned me loose. Told me to shoot 8, 9 threes a game, which was unheard of. You got to think back in the day. Now it's common, so people be like, oh. But back then, it wasn't guys, especially my size, shooting 8, 9 threes a game. So I was shooting 8, 9 threes a game. They had me participate in a 3-point contest. Now, mind you, I'm thinking it's just going to be cool to participate. So I'm in the room with my guys and whatever, and we in the room, got some girls in the room, everybody hanging out. We was drinking. Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize that you have to go to the 3-point contest 3 hours early because you got media obligations too. Yeah. So they knocking on the door at 5 o'clock, 4:35, yo, you gotta go. I'm like, I'm in it. I'm in it. I'm 2, 3 drinks in, I'm in it. I'm having a ball. And I'm like, man, so now I'm a little buzz going.
Right.
So I go, get my warm up, whatever. Sadly to say, I think 8, 9. We can verify. I think I got 8, 9 points. I don't think I was the worst, but I'm trending towards probably the worst performance. It's not nothing I'm proud of. But I want people to know. I'm glad you asked me that, to know the excuse behind it.
Okay.
It wasn't because I couldn't shoot.
Right.
It's because I was a little impaired.
So you was lit.
I wasn't lit, but I was a little impaired to do the 3-point contest.
Right.
And if you can watch it, I shot a couple air balls. It wasn't the best performance for me. Yeah. But that's how that broke down. So that's how my 3-point performance situation went. I wish I would have got another shot at it. But it was all-star. I was having a good time.
Right. Now I want to go, and I've been watching some of the other podcasts. I'm hearing, and I've been watching Shaq, big fella. He's talking about y'all Miami Heat days. and he was talking about, I don't want to get into the party twine, the twine that has its fun. You talked about it right there with your 3-point contest.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like in those heat days, and is it true that every city y'all went to, it was a party?
Every city except Utah and Indiana. But you got to remember, so as Shaq talked about that, so when I got traded to Miami, so Shaq ended up, we could get on the road, and he would make a saying. He would be like, bus leave at 10 or 11. Whatever that was. So every city that we went on the road, the bus or the car service, whatever we leave, would go to the parties. And we would actually go to the parties or whatever. And I'm going with Shaq, obviously teammates. And people understand this is how you build team camaraderie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So everybody going, we got 6, 7, 8 guys on the team. We going to the party or whatever. And Shaq is usually hosting. But at this time, you're not thinking nothing of it. You like, man, Shaq, my teammate, I'm going. But what I had to learn in the process of kicking and partying is that Shaq don't drink. Mm-hmm. Well, at least back then he didn't drink.
Right.
But we drinking. Like, rest of us, we drinking, having a good time, we partying. And the next day come, we get in front of Coach Pat Riley. He like, man, this a brewery in here. Like, man, everybody here like, drinking and having a good time. And we getting in trouble for it. And we like, man. So it took me about 4 or 5 road trips to realize that Shaq ain't doing no drinking, right, and we doing all the drinking. And so we taking the punishment from it from Pat Riley. But that was one of the good things. That was the first time I've been on a team that literally we partied in every city. I would say 85, 90% of the cities, and played basketball. And that's including our own city. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody knows how Miami is.
Right.
But we also practice hard. Like, it was crazy. Like, it was one of those things. It was like a whirlwind. You burn both ends of the candle, on the court and off the court. But went trading it for the world and ended up getting an NBA championship too.
So Pat was a motherfucker with them practices, huh?
Yeah, it was something different. 3.5 practices, knee pads, hard, long film sessions. And I think, besides him being a disciplined coach and everything we had, I think he knew what Miami was. I think he wanted to wear you out to cut your social life off a little bit in Miami. I think it was strategically planned out that way. That's the way he operated. And that's not saying that he's not. Obviously, he's a great coach and he's a disciplinarian, but I just think that was all strategically planned out to wear you down so you wouldn't get caught up in doing it. But we had our crew. We still went out there.
Right. So when y'all take me to that finals, because it didn't start off good. Y'all were down, what, 0-2?
Yep, 0-2.
0-2. So what was what was the turning point to turn that series around?
We left Dallas not feeling like they were better than us. I think that was the one thing. And for me personally, what made me comfortable, to be honest, it was Shaq. Mm-hmm. His demeanor, the way he kind of handled us being down 0-2, the no worry, no panic type of attitude, because he'd been there before.
Right.
Well, a couple of us that haven't been there, we were nervous and trying to figure out how to play better. And to be honest, we rode the wave of somebody that had an unbelievable series. They ended up obviously winning the MVP, but D Wade.
Yeah.
That game 3, people want to go look back into it. This game 3 was a monster. Not sure, he probably had 30 or 40 points. I don't know exactly his stats, but we rode that wave. He was able to pull that victory out for us with some late heroics, and after that, our confidence grew.
Right.
We knew we had him.
Mm-hmm.
We knew what we had to do to beat him. I mean, it was a great series, win 6 games, but we knew what it was going to take to beat him after that. So that was a credit really to Shaq, and then obviously we rode the way. I think D-Wade averaged like 35 for that series, 34, 35.
Yeah, he was unbelievable.
And he was the finals MVP. But we rode that wave through that. But that was all just kind of jumping on the back of big fella, a guy who been there, who had 3 rings at the time.
Right.
He had been in those situations before, and kind of letting him lead us. And Shaq necessarily didn't have a great series himself, but his leadership and the things how he kept us going and keeping us positive was huge.
Yeah, because you was the second leading scorer in that series.
Yeah, Shaq was in foul trouble a lot. It was a tough series for him. They put him in a lot of pick and rolls, really made him move around a lot. So that was a tough series for him. But it was one of those things that without his leadership and him coming together And then we had to, I want to also give a lot of shout out Alonzo Mourning. I mean, he was unbelievable too. He could have easily got MVP coming off the bench. How impactful he was for us as a sixth man coming off the bench. So he was huge too. So our two big men, our two 7-footers were leaders. And one was very vocal and leading. That side didn't play great, and the other one played great.
Right. Now I guess another thing that I want to bring up is me and Sean talked about this. Is after you won that championship, and this is true, and I want you party for 30 days straight.
I tried to. I tried to party for 30 days straight. So,
and this is real club, table, real partying.
So, went back to Miami. We won the championship. We was gonna have a parade. So I was like, look, I'm gonna go celebrate for 30 days. Up until it was a time, it was gonna be a gap between us the season and getting to the ESPYs and meeting the team for the ESPYs in LA. And I was like, we're going to party. We're going to try to get 30 days in. So I grabbed my boy Joe from Kentucky, and I told him, man, we're going to hit every city that there's some parties at. And we almost made it. I didn't quite make it.
So what's not? No, first of all, where'd y'all go, and then how didn't you make it?
I mean, obviously we started in Miami. So started day one in Miami, New York, L.A., Houston. I mean, everywhere it was popping for parties, we went to. 24 hours or 48 hours, in and out. I remember I used to drink Patron back then, so that was my thing. We used bottles of Patron, in and out. We used to go to DJ booth, tell the DJ booth, remember that song, The Champ is here?
Jada Kiss?
Yeah, The Champ is here. I always tell the DJ, pay the DJ to play that. The Champ is here, so we went on the road. Got to L.A. for the ESPYs, and I ain't make it.
What happened?
Alcohol poisoning. I was done. I got to L.A. and couldn't make it. I didn't even make it to the ESPYs, man.
You missed the ESPYs? Damn.
Yeah, but we went on the run. That was Joe went with me. I would say 22 solid days.
Body shut down?
22. I went 22 and then it was over.
Yeah, it might be legendary status right there.
Yeah, I got 22 in. Strong 22. I didn't make the 430, but I tried. I really tried to make the 30, but I mean, that was first time. You gotta think, I was in an elite class. See, a lot of people know that. 1-1 in college, 1-1 in pro. In college, I ain't really get to enjoy it. I ain't drink in college.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So I ain't really enjoy it. So this one I wanted to really enjoy.
Right. So he stayed with you the whole time?
Yeah, he rode it out with me.
Damn.
He rode it out with me. It wasn't no dip. Me and Joe.
Damn.
You know, a few guys, obviously Chicago, here and there, they may be there, but the whole road through was me and Joe.
Now, it's another legendary story I heard, too. I was there, but I wasn't there that night, Cancun. Now, take me to the scene in Cancun, and I hear you having a bottle war with Fubu. That's when Fubu was hot at the time. Well, take me to that scene.
So this is Memorial Day weekend. So this is when Puffy and those guys started Memorial Day weekend. I don't know if people used to go to Cancun. I'm pretty sure a lot of people remember that. And my first couple of years, I didn't make the playoffs. So Memorial Day weekend was my first vacation. So I would get all my guys, and we would go on vacation. So it'd be 7, 8 of us. And we went to the venue. We in the club. We in Daddy-O's. I remember the name of the club in Cancun. We in Daddy-O's. And this is when Fubu, everybody's wearing Fubu. They was the hot, urban designers at the time. And, obviously they're on one side of the room, I'm on one side of the room. But you got to remember, I'm on this rookie salary.
Right.
So I really couldn't really keep up, but I'm going to make it look good. So they order 3 bottles, we order 3 bottles. They order 5, we order 5. They order 10, we order 10. Next thing you know, it's a bottle war. And this is right in the club. I hung in there, though, so I had to give myself a lot of credit. I'm on this rookie deal. You know what I'm saying? It's a little tight. Got 7, 8 guys with me. Them boys were strong back then.
Right.
But I hung in there. Them boys had to come shake my hand after it was over. But that was my first time actually ever in the bottle war, but my first time actually experiencing that much fun and spending money in the club like that. That was my first encounter. to many, but that was the first one that I did that time in Cancun. But it was fun that night. But they won. I mean, I was on the first year side. I couldn't keep up, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I got about 30 in, though.
Damn.
I got about 30 bottles in. But you got to understand, the bottle prices would look different than what they are now. Probably half.
Okay.
So let's say bottles probably 200 a bottle. You know, now they 300, 400, 500 a bottle. They was like 200 a bottle. But I hung in there, though.
So that woke the beast. That woke the beast right there. Cancun, Cancun is what set off the legendary.
That got me wet. That got me wet, and that got me wanting to do that a little bit more. But that was a lot of fun that night. That was a vacation for the guys, but we had a lot of fun.
So they started that run. Now, how was I guess other stories we hear, and I guess I want you to kind of clarify it in your thing. We hear a lot about the gambling, and we hear a lot about. Like I heard stories that sometimes the gambling, it could be three. You know, y'all have 3 days at the crib gambling, and then you also hear, you know, about MJ in the mix. Like, what's some of the, I guess, what's true with some of those stories, and kind of break down and see how the gambling started to come into play, and then, you know, was it to the levels of I guess, you know, sometimes out of your hands, out of control type situation?
Well, I think the gambling part is a little, you know, overhyped. Was it a couple bad moments? Of course. But I think that wasn't how we kicked it. That was part of the whole kicking the process.
Right.
Partying, like we just talked about, women and then gambling. That was just all a part of the mix. I think just that was overhyped. And just a little brief history to that. I think, you know, I was very fortunate. A lot of people don't know this, but Michael Jordan decided to come back and play. And at that particular time, I was the one kind of controlling the summer runs, as far as like kind of being the headliner guy, along with myself and Quentin Richardson, Bobby Simmons, some other guys, the local guys that were from Chicago. We all worked out together.
Right.
So, you know, I get a random phone call from Michael Jordan. Hey, thinking about coming back. I hear you know, got the guys in the gym playing, and, you know, I'm blown away. You know, it's Michael Jordan. Wow,
Right.
who wouldn't want to work out with Mike? And Mike called me and everything, and told him how we ran and how the run was going. Obviously, Mike wants to switch things up and change it up, so he switched the gym. He was working with a trainer, the legendary Tim Grover. At this time, I used to just play basketball to work out. I never had a physical trainer that I trained with. So now we're working out with Tim Grover every day, and we're starting this run that we're going to play every day. And people don't remember, Chicago probably had 20, 25 pros just locally, or guys that were playing professionally, whether European or pro. So we already had a good run. And we basically set up the run, man. It was like he wanted to play pickup ball every day, 4 days a week, and then we wanted to lift weights. And that's what we did. And guys flew in, came in and participated, worked out with Mike, and I wouldn't trade it for the world just to watch the greatest. His work ethic, his dedication at his age, where he was coming back to play a couple more years, to see the work ethic he put in, I think kind of instilled a lot of, you know, work ethic in all of us and how hard you got to work to be a winner. I remember he always was a team that never won anything in pro. Not I had one in college, but he would always tell me that. And so you learned a lot about how being competitive and how winning was so important. So that was so special about that. But then the also part about that, we had a social life. I mean, we used to, you know, gamble, play cards, but it was really more sociable and around more among the guys. And, you know, guys, we gamble with each other and play poker and spades and all that. And that's what we did every day. It was just it was an everyday routine. We'll work out, get our work in first. Then after that, we would gamble, play cards, and do it every day, do it all over again, 3-4 days a week. And I think that's where, to get back to the original question, that's where I think the perception came that, oh, it's a gamble. That just was a part of our DNA. It was just what we did. But for me personally, I take it back to All-Star Weekend. And a lot of people don't know this, and share the story real quick. So All-Star Weekend in Vegas, I end up winning $800,000 over a 3-day period. I'm like, man. So we had $800,000 over a 3-day period. So now I'm like anybody else. I think it's sweet. I think I'm like, you know, I'm the gambling guru. You know what I'm saying? So I used to train in Vegas. So I used to train in Vegas a couple summers. I would go out there and train. They had a great training facility out there. So I stayed out there for 5 weeks, and I'm out there for 5 weeks working out, shooting, and training with all the guys. But at night, you in Vegas, ain't nothing to do. You know what I'm saying? So a casual night, we was going to casino, and we may just go gamble. That thing got out of control. I look up at the end of the month, I'm down 800,000 cash gambling. So that's what, like, threw me off. Like I was pissed at myself that I lost that kind of money in over a 5-week period. But once I lost the money, now I got to solve the problem.
Right.
So long story short, people thought that, so you got 45 days to actually pay this money back because you're getting markers that you're borrowing money against obviously your bank account for some people that don't know what it is. So you're not actually cash, so you're just using your bank account and they're getting you a credit line. And I finished up out there after being out there working out and realized how much money I lost. So I'm trying to figure out, embarrassed to tell my financial advisor that I got to pay this money and try to justify it. So a friend of mine, I wouldn't call him a friend, a friend told me that, hey, you can probably negotiate a deal where you probably don't have to pay it all. And you can probably, pay a certain percentage back and come into debt. So I'm like, okay, cool. I took that route. The casino got aggravated, got really mad about it. It was something that I really could do. And I was looking for a payment plan structure. I didn't want to write them a check, for 800,000, 900,000. I didn't want to write that. Nobody wants to write a big check like that. So I was trying to get them the payment plan. They knew I had the money. They wanted all their money. So it became into a legal battle.
Right.
But a lot of people don't understand this. This is the legal part about it. Once they issued a warrant for my arrest, and they're able to do that because technically, when you sign a marker, which is a credit line, you got 45 days to pay that money back. I was in probably month 5, 6, and trying to negotiate a deal and going back and forth. So they legally had the right to actually come after me for the money. And they knew I was playing the golf tournament in Vegas, in the state of Nevada. And they did with any other company. They just knew I was going to be there, so they issued a warrant for my arrest. So I ended up having to turn myself in, I had to actually go to jail, sit there, wait, have a judge come to the actual jail and tell them what's going on, and I had to bond out. So I had to pay 10% of what I owe. So I think I bonded out for like $135,000, and then I had a court date, and then we figured it out from there. The payment structure moving forward from there. But I mean, it was embarrassing to the point because they made national news. People thought all these things were going on at the time, and I had a gambling problem. But I mean, I don't necessarily say it's a gambling problem. It's just one of those situations that got out of hand, and I probably could have avoided it.
Right.
Probably could have handled it a little better. But I was trying to take the cheap route.
Right.
I was trying to, not really, own up to the mistake that I made and try to take a different route. And they took their legal route that was in their right to do that, and it just got blown out of proportion in the media because nobody really knew what happened.
Right.
Because if you knew, I mean, obviously, I did go to the jail to go do that and bond out, but I wasn't like in jail.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was one of those things. So took a 5-year probation, paid them back their money, and moved on from there.
So the perception out there is, and I'm glad you cleared that you didn't lose your money gambling. It's a lot that goes into losing close to 130 million. Thing is, you lost it. It's gone. Did that put you in a dark space? I know we fully don't talk about this. It's kind of, any of us would go into a dark space. Would you say what was probably your darkest time from that point to current day? What was the darkest time, and kind of take me into that moment?
I think when I went through it, not knowing where I would be financially was probably the biggest thing because the gambling was very small. So for me, was more or less the business venture that I took on in the real estate market at the same time. So everybody knows in 2007, 2008, we were going through a recession. But by this time, I'm 5 years in the real estate game. I'm 30, 40, 50 properties in Chicago. I'm heavily involved in the real estate game, but I had a lot of undeveloped property, a lot of land, a lot of buildings that weren't finished. So you don't know what that number would have been. So it was a lot of undeveloped property. But my problem was, and the biggest thing, and I think what a lot of people don't understand is that I just probably structured my company the wrong way. And at the time, it just seemed right. So basically, I put up my personal financial portfolio to get loans from banks to get real estate, not for personal use, for real estate. So we had like 7, 8 banks that we would borrow money from for different denominations, whether it was $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, and that was just to buy property.
Right.
But the problem was, and I was the personal guarantor. So I was responsible for all these loans, no matter what happens with the real estate, whether it turns out to be a success, whether they're good, bad, or different. I'm responsible for all these properties. And by me you being a personal guarantor, that's where the problem went. And taking it back, and I know it's a long time ago, but people know their history, you got to go back to 2007, 2008, where our economy was bad and we went through a recession.
Right.
So I got caught in the recession. So when I get all these outstanding loans out, the bank is like, hey, look, we're not waiting. They want their money back.
Right.
So basically, I'm getting stuck with lame duck property that has no value, or either not holding its value, and they're wanting their money back. So at that time, and I thought, after going through financial advisors and going through different people, the best thing was to cut my losses and file bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. So, it's different levels to bankruptcy. You can try Chapter 7, Chapter 13. I chose 7 because I wanted to be debt-free.
Right.
I didn't want that lingering over me for the rest of my life or having to continue to deal with that. So I took Chapter 7. By me taking Chapter 7, basically, obviously, I had to cash out. But I felt like at this time, I'm thinking I'm going to play another 3-4 more years in the NBA as well. So I'm like, one, I may not get all the money back, but I'm going to still be able to make money and still have a good living.
Right.
And I went through that process. So it was like that was happening at the same time the gambling situation was happening. So you got to think about it. And luckily, I wasn't planning, this didn't happen in this day and age where media is at a whole nother high. But
Right.
it's just that people didn't really understand it because the media wasn't the same
Right.
that it was now. So people just can only hear certain bits and pieces of the story. And that's what made it more magnified than what it really was. And which it was big, but I think it was a lot of untruth told in there and people didn't know that. So as bad as it sounds, it's just, I was able to get a hold of the situation and kind of figure out the best place to be after everything went through.
Right. And since that, I guess, how hard has it been, I guess, to kind of continue to, try to battle back, find yourself, because, that was your identity. Mm-hmm. Basketball was your identity. That was the only job you ever had. Mm-hmm. You went to the NBA at 19, instant star once you get to the NBA. How hard has it been these past, 12 years to, still try to battle out of that and still try to find your identity? Because, that's tough on any of us. I couldn't imagine, so, and the way you've been able to carry it, and I know it still has to weigh on you. How tough has that been?
I think the toughest part always is the family dynamic because, you bring people on this journey with you.
Right.
When you're making a ton of money, these people go on a journey with you. You take them out their comfort zone, you put them in another lifestyle, and something like this happens, and it just shockingly, everybody can't handle a quick transition. So I think that's the first part that was tough is the family dynamic of it, and understanding your family's going to change, things have to change. My family was great, very receptive to understanding that life is going to change, that we're going to have to change our lifestyle a little bit, thumb it down tremendously. So that was a good part of it. Then you got your kids' dynamics. Obviously, I got 2 daughters that you're taking care of, and they're living a certain lifestyle. So kids are a little bit more harder to get to understand and their wants and needs and calming their wants and needs down is one thing. But I think for me, the thing was that I come from nothing. So you just kind of get back to that mindset. And you get to basically itemizing things, if that makes sense. And you just kind of, okay, this is important, that's important. This is important, that's important. Do I need this? Do I need that? You know me. I was at one point 8, 9 cars. So, okay, it's time to get down to 1 or 2.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You got 3, 4 houses. Like, okay, let's get down to one. So you just start like really like just simplifying things, trying to figure out the things that you need to be to live. And then on top of one, like I talked about earlier, to tell your story, but then figure out what I want to do in this realm of sports and trying to figure that out. And whatever I'm gonna do, I gotta base it off. This is my lifestyle. I gotta be based off what I'm gonna be able to do for the rest of my life. So it's like those type of things that you kind of go through and you try to figure out. And that probably was the hardest part, just figuring out where I want to be at. And then also, I think, but the best thing that I did is when we collabed to do the documentary. I think it was therapeutic. I think it gave me a chance to tell my story the right way, in the public eye.
Right.
Because people look at you different and put these perceptions of who you are or think who you are through that. And through the doc, I was able to tell my story the way I wanted to tell it.
Right.
And I think that probably was the biggest thing that helped me therapeutically, because I now get to tell my story. Even interviewing your family, your friends, and all those things, getting those people interviewed, you kind of see where everybody's at in your life and what part they play. So it's just like, it was like a great therapeutic session doing the documentary, and just kind of spearheading from there. And basically getting the opportunity to use my story as a learning tool for other athletes that come up through the ranks. Because so many people go through it. It's just at different levels and different variations.
Right. What would you tell, so if one of these guys are coming through and say this happens to them, I guess what would you tell them from a mental standpoint? Because, everyone can't be as strong, and I don't think, everyone would be able to be as strong. What would you tell, them to kind of, I guess, lean into or to help them get through something so dramatic? Because, you basically come from, having nothing to having the world, being a superstar, winning championships, doing whatever you want to do to it's pulled and you're back to square one. And we know how hard it is to try to get any of that back again. And it's like you chase it because it's hard enough when the game is taken away from you or when the game is over. But what is it when the game is over and now your lifestyle is over? What would you, if you were telling someone who may be going through that, or another player or someone, like, what's your advice to them?
Well, I think one is about you got to get a comfort zone for yourself, if that makes sense. You got to figure out what's going to make you happy, how you're going to be able to live comfortable. I think when we all go through trials and tribulations, which I've seen with a lot of guys, you try to get everything back that you had, and you lose the basis of what you need and what's going to make you happy and make you successful moving forward. And you got to do it in a different denomination. It just becomes dollars and cents. It comes from, you may have had a $3 million home, so now you got to go to a condo. You know what I mean? Getting that comfortability in your mind is the biggest thing. And that's where, people talk about mental health and all that stuff, but that's where a lot of guys, you got to get your mental part first. Like, okay, I'm not going to be able to live in this $5 million home no more. I may have to go to a $300,000 house or $300,000 condo. Once you start putting those things, it goes even for cars. I just told you about I had 8, 9 cars, 10 cars at a time. Okay, maybe I had to have 1, maybe 2 cars. You know what I mean? Once you start to mentally put that stuff in your head and understand this is where you're going to, it makes handling all the other stuff really good. And everybody's going to be different. But one thing that was good for me, and I'm always thankful and blessed for this, my family, I'm the oldest of 6, but my family was really good at transitioning to downsizing, to getting back to working on their own and grinding on their own. And everybody's situation could be like that. Sometimes your family and friends can be the worst sometimes. But the good thing that I had people around me that were willing to understand that they had to take a step back. They had to get back to working. I wasn't going to be able to take care of them at that level anymore. I think that was the biggest thing that helped me move past it. Because one thing, you changing your own lifestyle, but when you're changing 15, 20 people lifestyle, that's a lot of responsibility. And just to get that reinsurance, to get those people to support me and understand that and move on their own, I think was unbelievable.
Right, right. Now, how some of the you was with Adidas. You was with Adidas. You had your signature shoe with Adidas. You were kind of helped launch it. You, Kobe, T-Mac has Adidas or any of those organizations tried to reach out and bring you back into the fold, or?
Actually, no. Adidas was great for me, but the people that brought me into Adidas, the Sonny Vaqueros, the Susie Lazenbeams, the Jim Gatto, those guys are not around.
Okay.
They kind of transitioned out around the time that I was kind of going through all these things. So I didn't have necessarily their support, but I mean, at the end of the day, Jim Gatto was still there when I moved through that, so I still was able, product-wise placement, they still was doing anything to use me. I still was involved in that capacity, but it was different. They were not there in that aspect of it. I was already, 13 years into the league already by then.
Right.
So they wasn't necessarily there, but they were firm in helping for a little bit, and until the management change.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now I want to go. I guess when we're on Adidas, I want to touch back. What was it like being with Adidas? And you came out of high school, and when you came out of college, was it you and Kobe? They had the signature shoe and the first shoe deal with Adidas to launch their basketball program.
Yeah. Well, me and Kobe came in '96. Yeah, came into the league in '96. I became Adidas kid my junior year in high school. Sonny Vaquero obviously ran Adidas at that time, and I started to wear the shoe. Our AU program, the Mac Urban Fire, we ended up wearing Adidas. So I started wearing Adidas, transited into Adidas my junior year in high school. And then obviously senior year, and then college we wore Converse. But I still also used to get product from Adidas, so Sonny kept the relationship going. And then after my second year, they was the first company that offered me a huge deal. Sonny offered me a huge deal, something that I couldn't turn down, and brought me in right away. But that relationship was established my junior year in high school.
Right.
And Sonny Vaquero, just a quick story, was one of the guys I leaned on to come out of school early. I came out of school early and after my second year, but he was a guy that kind of helped me, guide me, and called him for advice, called him to see if I should come out. And, he kept it real with me and kept me understand the draft process and all that stuff. So I'm always forever grateful and thankful for that, and helping me make, obviously one of the biggest decisions of my life, and taking me through that process. So, and then turning around and giving me, $1 million shoe deal.
Right.
So it was a great thing.
Now, David Falk was your agent.
Yeah, David Falk was my agent.
And Sonny, so I saw the movie Air. So did they really butt heads like that?
Yeah, people don't know that. Yeah, I actually witnessed a real fight. I'm sitting in the room. So imagine you right there. That's you, me. I'm Sonny Vaquero, and then David Falk over there, and that's you, me, sitting in the middle, and they're literally fighting, but they ain't fighting over me. They fighting over Michael Jordan.
So they still going to Jordan?
Yeah, they're fighting over Michael Jordan. I'm sitting in the middle. I don't got nothing to do with me. They're fighting over that situation that we saw in the movie. I'm watching it go firsthand, hand in hand in the meeting.
So it's on site when they see each other?
Yeah, they arguing and fighting over whatever they had going on. I'm stuck in the middle. Poor little 19-year-old kid, don't know what's going on, stuck in the middle. And there was a lady in the meeting too, named Susie, and she felt so bad for me. And she actually kind of like went off on both of them for having me involved in the meeting. And it was crazy. I ended up getting like an extra $250,000 in the deal.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because it was like $500,000 a year on the table at first. And after the argument, I think Sonny felt bad for me for Adidas, so he gave me an extra $250 a year.
Okay.
So it went to $750 a year, which is a huge deal back in the day.
Right.
A shoe deal. So, I was stuck in the middle of those two guys.
All right. Well, I guess, I want to kind of wrap things up, but I do want to touch on another thing that's out there is, you were one, when you were playing, that would always kind of take care of everything, whether other players, other guys, there. What was your reason for doing that? And do you feel that I guess when everything kind of came crumbling down on you, did you get that reciprocated?
Well, when I got in the league, I was on a team with a bunch of veterans. So I kind of got that from them. Obviously, being a rookie in the league, I was actually only 19, turning 20, so I really couldn't go out to clubs and stuff like that. But every now and then I'll be able to sneak into one. But just saw the veteran guys kind of take me under their wing, kind of show me the ropes on how to be in the league, how to carry yourself. When I came in the league, totally different from what these guys come into now. It was a strict dress code. We used to have to wear suits and suits on the plane. Like, it was just the disciplinarian part was totally different. And not saying these guys are not disciplined, but it wasn't as free as these guys got it when I played. Everything was strict. You had to be on time. You got fined for everything. Everything was, ran at a much more stricter atmosphere. More to say, but it just kind of stuck with me. So every time, the new guys came on the team, it was always there. I knew some of the challenges a rookie may have, as far as going out, hanging. They created these lifestyles. They got bills, this and that.
Right.
It's totally different from what the guys made then. So I always knew that. So I always try to be like that big brother to them,
Right.
and show them a good time. And I know we go on the road. You want to go shopping, this and that. You on your rookie deal. You on a budget. You can't really, do what you want to do. So I was just one of those guys that always took the young guys under my wing. It just kind of came natural. I didn't feel obligated. It's just something that I did. It's just kind of team camaraderie that we did, especially when we go out to the clubs and stuff like that. Cover the bills a lot and make sure the guys are straight. Because everybody's salary.
Right.
It's totally different now.
Right.
With these guys' salary now, everybody making 20, 30 million is totally different. But back then, you kind of took that role, but I got that from the older guys.
All right. Now, what's Twine? What can we expect from Twine now and moving forward? What can we see from you?
Really, just still doing what I love to do, being involved in sports in a major capacity, whether that's on TV, whether that's working for a team. Obviously, currently working with the Celtics, and continue building that relationship. I want to continue to build my TV career. And then also educate, man. I just think, my story could be an educational thing, especially now. I think it's even more important now because kids getting all this money now. You think about NIL and all the places these guys are getting money from. I just think, my story can still resonate to a lot of guys because at the end of the day, we all going to have big families. We all going to want expensive things. And I think you still do all those things, but we also got to think about generational wealth.
Right.
And that's where I come in at and making sure guys understand that, think about 30, 35, because guys are coming in the league now 18, 19 years old. Shit, they getting paid now at 15, 16 years old.
Right.
So now it's more important to have guys like myself, and I'm not the only guy in the space, but to be able to share knowledge and experience with those guys, because those guys is a chance for them to have generational wealth to be able to take care of not only their kids, but their kids' kids. And that's kind of like the message that I want to leave, or people to know about me, that, hey, I made it, fell down, worked my way back up, but in the process, I made sure I educate and help, other athletes out. It don't necessarily have to be basketball, it can be football, baseball, whatever. Anybody that can resonate to my story, I want to feel like I help those guys out.
Right. Well, I tell you, man, I appreciate, taking this journey with you. I'm excited for, what we're about to do, the things we're about to do, what we're about to show the world, and, for Twine to come back out, employee number 8's back out. We're about to do some amazing
that's
things.
this pod. I know we're in a space right now where it's a lot of great podcasts. We like a lot of them and we watch them, but this is going to be that couch where you're going to be able to have a story to tell.
Right.
And we're going to share stories. We're going to be able to share real experiences with people. And when people watch ours, I think what's going to separate us just a little bit is being able to share these stories and the trials and tribulations, whether you're an actor, entertainer, whether you're an athlete, whatever that may be, to know it's okay, that you can go through something and figure it out and land back on your feet. So I think that's going to be great, not only for our culture, but also for younger people to know that, hey, you can stumble, you can fall, but also get back on your feet. So I think that's what's going to help us separate and make our podcast or in this space a little different than all the other ones, because that would be that place where you always be able to have a story to tell.
There you go. There you have it. Episode 1, we got a story to tell. A lot more to come. See you next time. We'd like to thank today's episode sponsor, Credit Boost Consulting. Are you in need of credit repair? Whether you're looking to get approved for a house, apartment, car, a credit card, or you need negative items that are destroying your credit removed, such as late payments, repossessions, foreclosure, or bankruptcy, Credit Boost Consultants is for you. Visit their website at www.yourcreditboost.com today for a free credit assessment and consultation. Use promo code BRANDEDNETWORK for exclusive 15% discount on all their credit repair services. We'd like to thank our sponsor for today's episode, Lux Leaf Dispensary. Are you looking to elevate your cannabis experience? Visit Lux Leaf Dispensary in Madison, Illinois, your premier destination for premium cannabis products. Whether you're a seasoned connoisseur or new to the scene, Lux Leaf offers a curated selection of top-shelf flower, concentrates, edibles, and more. The knowledgeable staff is there to guide you through your journey, ensuring you find exactly what you need. Visit Lux Leaf Dispensary today and discover a new level of luxury in cannabis, or visit online at luxleafdispensary.com.